the shadows appeared hyper as he walked along the prom. He was only 57, but he felt his life was gone, and the sea gave him a feeling like he never did belong. Someone from behind him shouted, "How's it going, Tom?"
I'm here in the garden with Fia Rua, who has just recorded his third album, and we're here to find out a little bit more about it. Can you tell me how this album came about?
Well, after my second album, I was playing live and getting a kind of a sound together, and then I met Will O.C., who's a producer here in Galway, and actually through your radio show, and we kind of hit it off, and then the possibility of recording an album with Will came about, and we took it from there. But
had you songs ready to go before you met Will?
Some of the songs were ready to go, and some of them weren't. I for the first time, actually, in my previous two albums, I'd never kind of written an album or written a song in the studio, but for this one, about half of the songs I had ready. Well, half of the songs I wanted for an album were ready, and I had to write the other half. So I wrote about 5 songs while we were recording, which was fun. Especially with Will, who was kind of like, a musician as well, so he would have been kind of almost co-writing at times, and definitely co-mixing. So,
can you tell us a little bit about Will's background as well, because it's quite an unusual collaboration in some ways?
Yeah, I suppose Will would have come from an electronic background. At the same time, I was when I'm at home, I'd listen to a lot of different genres, even though I might have people say I'm folk or whatever. But when I'm listening to music, I could listen to anything from metal to electronic, whatever. But so that's where his background is. But to saying that, like Ross Rooney, who I did my first 2 albums with, came from an electronic background, ish kind of funky electronic-y stuff. So I'm always open to kind of different genres coming into it. But that's where Will came from. But at the same time, Will would have been in a metal band or whatever over the years, so he would have had a different. He would have lots of genres, influenced by a lot of genres. Yeah.
And can you tell me about who else played on the album? You mentioned Ross Rooney there.
Ross was on the album. Ross came in and played bass on the album, but the process was basically myself and Adam Downey and Chris Capewell and Will went down to my sister's house in Clonakilty. Outside Clonakilty, between Rosscarbery and Clonakilty, and we used their house for a weekend, and we basically took it over, and we recorded live. So like most of the album was recorded live. When I say live, I mean we recorded it all together in a room. We set up the drums in the hallway, and I played in the sitting room, and Will was in another room recording. And so that's the process. We went down to Cork, and then when we came back to Galway, Will would have done a little bit of work on it, and then we brought Ross Rooney in and to do the bass. So all together in the whole album, there's only 4 people involved, and like Will's musical input is there as well, but primarily it's just myself, Adam, Chris and Ross. So it's almost like a band album in a way, because there's only 4 of us really. That's kind of throughout the album.
Takes away. Some can bear the silence, some can die without a why, and then dissolve to blindness. Yeah, nature drags us by the hand without a chance to ponder, fucks us in the Ferris wheel and tears our mind asunder,
But is that different from how you've made your previous 2 albums?
Yeah, I think the previous 2 albums would have been maybe me coming down, going into the studio, recording the guitar, recording the vocal, maybe recording some percussion, and then bringing people in like fiddle players and whoever. So I kind of there wasn't so much separation. I think I kind of wanted the album to sound like the live gigs I was doing, which were being done with Adam and with Chris and stuff. So it was more of a bandy kind of vibe. It sounds more like a band than a solo artist. I think a lot of it. And then some parts of it is just myself and the banjo, whatever. But it's a very dynamic album. It's the most dynamic album I've ever done, because it's when I say dynamic, I mean because I was writing in the studio, I was just coming up with ideas on the spot, influenced by whatever was going on in the studio. So there's a lot, like, I think the album jumps from being kind of folky, kind of like Fallen Time. My previous album was very folky-ish at times, so there's a little bit of that, and then it jumps from that to like me and a banjo or me and a bowron. So I like that kind of diversity going on, because people tend to listen to tracks now instead of albums as a whole. So I think there's a bit for everybody in there somewhere, I think, you know.
And what about in terms of your songwriting? Did you find kind of, like you said, I know you wrote some of the stuff in the studio this time around, but was there any other differences the way you approached it this time, or in terms of the content of the songs even?
Well, I would have had a team, rough team at the start of the album when I started recording it, and that was basically Galway and the sea, and also Irish men was in my mind for some reason, not like in a homosexual way, but in that kind of men's health thing that I kind of got involved with as well. I wrote a song called Hop Up the Road from my previous album, and that kind of hit a spark with people about, like, you know, men talking about their feelings and all that kind of stuff. I like kind of like the movie There Will Be Blood. Daniel Day-Lewis in his kind of when he got his Oscar was saying that this is for my grandfather or my father and my son or something like that, and it kind of, that's the kind of that was kind of loosely in my mind as well, that I was writing for my father, or I was writing for my grandfather, or my whatever, but there was a masculine energy through it. That was one of the themes, and then the sea and Galway and global warming was one of the other themes, because I was thinking, myself and Enda Riley have done some well, Enda talks a lot about global warming to me, and it's seeped into my subconscious, and that was in my mind as well, because at the time I was recording during the winter, there was a lot of storms in Galway as well. So there's a few themes hanging around there that I kind of explored, and that's how I would have wrote about them themes. It was easier to kind of pick themes to write about rather than just coming up with whatever was coming up for me, which is a bit self-indulgent at times. I like to go outside myself a little bit too, you know.
Waves are gonna take your sons, your daughters, and your loved ones. The waves are gonna take your sons, your daughters, and your loved ones. Way down deep.
You mentioned Enda Riley there. You are a member of the Urchin Collective along with Enda Riley. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the Urchin Collective was set up about a year and a half ago with myself, Pierce McLaughlin, Justin Grounds and Enda Riley, and we basically help each other out. We do gigs together, and this album is the first release that I've released under the Urchin Collective label, which is basically a group of musicians coming together and helping each other out, and we've done gigs in Switzerland and around Europe, and we're hoping to continue to do gigs together, and it's just nice to have people by your side, kind of giving you encouragement, and also helping out with getting gigs and stuff like that. So we might do some co-writing in the future as well, and maybe set up a band of some sort. And, but it's fantastic to have the lads' support, basically, you know.
Oh baby, I've been lying all the time. Cross my heart and hope that I was in flooded like a shrine. Keep my faulty distance and I'll not return again. I'll live in a foreign island with all my lying friends. Baby, I'm a liar, bad buzz, bad buzz. Baby, I'm a liar, bad buzz, bad buzz. Baby, I'm a liar, bad buzz, bad buzz. Baby, I'm a liar, bad buzz, bad buzz.